Manufacturing Engineering Apprenticeship webinar. Over the next hour, we are going to discuss how the Level 6 and Level 7 Manufacturing Engineering Apprenticeships are helping companies address critical skills shortages in engineering, manufacturing, automation, facilities, and quality, amongst other things. And just to advise all of you that this meeting is going to be recorded, and the chat is disabled, but the Q&A section is enabled, and we can take any questions through that forum there. This morning then you're going to hear from Dundalk IT, from employers, from mentors and from apprentices who are living this programme every day. We're going to address common concerns around cost, administration, scheduling of work, when the apprentices are off the job, and we'll also share some practical examples of how companies are using these apprenticeships to stabilise their teams, to reduce recruitment pressures, and to build their internal capability. So first of all, we'll start off with Dundalk IT, and I'd like to introduce you to Breda Brennan. So Breda, it's over to you.
Thank you very much, Trish. So I'm delighted to be part of this morning's webinar, and I'm just going to focus in really on why DKIT is an ideal location for the delivery of this apprenticeship. We're absolutely delighted and honoured to be involved in this apprenticeship. Next slide, please, Jen. So most of you are probably familiar with DKIT. It's the biggest higher education provider in the Northeast. We have an 87-acre campus in Dundalk with about 6,000 students, plus about 1,250 craft apprentices go through our doors every year as well. So, we're quite a big organisation, and we have 4 academic schools. So School of Engineering, which is where this apprenticeship is located, is one of those 4 schools. And you might have heard in the news recently a massive development for our organisation, as we've signed an agreement with Queen's University Belfast. Overseen there, you can see the Minister for Further and Higher Education, James Lawless, to become a university college of Queen's University Belfast within the next year or so. So that would be our new title in time. Hopefully we'll no longer be DKIT and will be Dundalk University College, hopefully within the next year or year and a half. So very exciting times for us. Next slide. So just focusing in, just one more, please, Jen, just to bring the table up. Thank you. So just focusing in, I suppose, on the School of Engineering. I'm not going to go through all of this, but we have a range of academic programs across 3 departments in both engineering and in built environment, as well as our craft apprenticeships. And the Department of Electronic and Mechanical Engineering under Dr. Paul McCartan, who we'll hear from later, that is where the apprenticeship is located. And we have a long history of delivering programs in both electrical, electronic engineering and mechanical engineering to the manufacturing sector in our region. So huge amount of experience and expertise within that area, and also the facilities that we need to deliver the apprenticeship. And we recently got a big boost of funding from the HEA to add to that equipment specifically for this apprenticeship. We also, I suppose, we're quite new to these consortia-led apprenticeships. This is our first one, but we have a very long history of delivering craft apprenticeships in electrical, carpentry, plumbing and motor mechanics, going back about 50 years. So we're very well used to apprenticeship structures and delivery. We have massive amount of experience in that. Next slide. So I suppose just a little bit more about our relationship with industry that makes us ideally placed for this apprenticeship. Again, our school has a very long history of collaborating with industry in the delivery of our programs. We have placements, semester-long placements on all our level 8 programs, all our honours degrees, and most of our level 7 programs. So we have a lot of experience in, I suppose, working with industry, assessing students while they're on placement, supporting them on placement, interacting with workplace mentors. We have a huge amount of experience in the school in doing that as part of our placement portfolio. And we have so many other interactions with industry on an almost daily basis. Many companies provide graduate internships. We have a number of industry bursaries and prizes, guest lectures and site visits, we have an annual careers fair where we bring industry into us, and it gives a chance for our students to interact with companies directly. We also provide upskilling programs and micro-credentials for industry locally. And of course, we have our history of apprenticeships. And the annual careers fair in particular provides an opportunity for us to talk to industry about their skills gaps and ways in which we can support that. So we're aware that there are skills gaps in the manufacturing sector that this apprenticeship will fill. And we're delighted to support employers, I suppose, in developing the talent pipeline in this regard. Next slide. So this is just a little, I suppose I've two slides left. I just want to focus on the supports that apprentices get in DKIT, both while they're in with us on block and when they're with their employer. Those supports continue right through the programme. We do an induction programme collaboratively with Ibec at the very start of the programmes. This photograph is our September group of students at their induction last August. And then there's ongoing support within the school from lecturers. Every programme we have in DKT, including our apprenticeships, has a first year convener and a programme director to support students. So Dermot Clark was our first year convener for that first year group. And next year we'll have a second year group, so we'll be appointing a programme director to support those students. The head of department and myself provide ongoing support, as do the staff in our administration office. So huge support for students within the school. We also have a lot of central learning supports, and I think it's important to say that our apprentices have equal access to these supports as our other students, both while they're with us and while they're with their employer. That support is ongoing. So the library are very supportive. A lot of apprentices are coming back to education maybe after a bit of a gap because they've been working with their employer for quite a long time. So Student Learning and Development Centre are there to support students in things like that they haven't done for a while, like writing assignments, writing reports. And we also have a maths learning centre to support students who maybe haven't studied mathematics for a long time. So all those supports are available. Next slide, please. And then we also have a range of student services. So disability service, careers and employability office, health unit, counselling, pastoral care, and our students' union. So we have a whole plethora of supports for students. And I just want to draw your attention to this student support hub. So we use Moodle as a virtual learning environment for all our students, including apprentices. So it's a great way, I suppose, of students keeping in touch with us in an online environment. And all of the supports that I've mentioned, both the academic and non-academic supports, are all available through this student support hub on Moodle. So you can actually link into these supports and get online supports while you're out with your employer. So I think it's important to emphasise that those supports are there all the time, whether the students are with us or whether they're out in employment. So as I mentioned again, we're absolutely delighted to get the call from Ibec inviting us to become part of this consortium and really look forward to working employers into the future. So I'm going to hand back over to Jennifer.
Thanks a million, Breda. Morning, everyone. Thank you very much for being here today. So my name is Jen Lynch. I work with Ibec on the Manufacturing Engineering Apprenticeship. So I'd be responsible for a lot of the kind of registration. So companies would be working with me if you're interested in taking on an apprentice. So I'm just going to give a very quick 5-minute overview of the programme before I hand over to Paul McCartan and DKIT to give an insight to the academic side. After that, then we're going to have our industry speakers, so you'll get a little bit more insight from the people on the ground of the apprenticeship. So just quickly, the programme titles. So the level 6 and 7 programmes are being offered in DKIT. So the level 6 is Manufacturing Technician, and it's a 2-year programme. The level 7 is Manufacturing Engineer, and that is a 3-year programme. We did also launch a level 8 programme in 2024 as well. That's available in other centres. So what does a manufacturing engineer apprentice do? So this occupational profile, I suppose, gives you a good idea of the kind of typical tasks and responsibilities the apprentice would be carrying out. So I won't go into this in too much detail, but just to give an example. So at level 6, the apprentice is very much there in kind of a technical support role. So technical support for existing processes, they troubleshoot equipment, assist with validation activities, just to name a few examples. At level 7 then, manufacturing engineer, the apprentice is more there to kind of optimize existing processes. So they'll hopefully take on a little bit more responsibility. For example, they're monitoring equipment performance, analyze and solve problems using structured techniques. So I suppose the big thing you're looking to hear today is kind of what's in it for the employer. The feedback from companies to date has been overwhelmingly positive. It's a really, really good opportunity for companies to get involved. So just to name a few, there are financial incentives and supports available to apprenticeship employers. It definitely improves diversity and inclusion, and also employee retention as well, is the feedback we're getting from companies. Shared learning, the apprentices are adding business value very early on in their apprenticeship journey. They do work-based projects. So as I say, they're adding value very early on. Develop your engineering talent tailored to your own business needs. So in terms of a timeline, so the apprentice, how it works, the apprentice attends college for a 15-week academic block each year of the programme. So there'll be a winter intake in Dundalk IT this year, and we do have spaces available in that class. So the apprentice will start with a induction. It's usually kind of mid-November, so November 2026. They do an induction online with the college. They then have their initial block with the company up to Christmas, so it's 6 weeks. They then begin their academic block in January of next year, and that runs all the way to May. And the programme follows the same pattern for each year of the programme. The apprentice will attend college for a 15-week academic block. The remainder of the year, they're working full-time on site with the company. So I'll just touch on this quickly. I want to leave enough time for the industry speakers and the chat later on, but just to touch on this quickly, we do have advanced entry routes available. So that's something we would assess on a case-by-case basis, but it's good to keep in mind if you have someone that's maybe working on site that has some bit of a qualification or maybe some industry experience, they may be eligible to, say, enter the program at year 2 or even year 3. So for example, if it's someone that maybe completed 1 year of an engineering program, they didn't continue with it for one reason or another, and they have industry experience, they may be eligible for advanced entry. So what we'll do is we'll share the details of this with you afterwards as well, but it's good to keep that in mind. So the mentor is something we put quite a big focus on for this program. You know, the mentor really is critical to the apprentices' development, and we will be hearing a bit more about that later on. But there are some requirements for the mentor as well, so just to keep that in mind. For example, at level 6, the mentor requires a minimum of a level 6 qualification in a cognate discipline, and they must have a minimum of 4 years post-qualification experience. So that's something worth thinking about quite early on in the journey, is who the on-site mentor is going to be. So how to get involved? I suppose today is a good kind of starting point for employers interested in getting involved. What you would do is you would get in touch with ourselves in Ibec, and we would give you kind of more of an in-depth overview of the apprenticeship program, the process. We're kind of ensuring that it aligns with what you'd be looking for. And then we approve your mentor, and we do any paperwork required. We then liaise with Solus to get the company approved and registered for the apprenticeship. All apprenticeships in Ireland require a Solus registration, but we can work with you on that. It's straightforward, and we'll work with you on any of the paperwork and approvals required. The last step then would be for the apprentice to get registered with DKIT, and that would happen a little bit closer to the induction date. Yeah, so just to touch on, I suppose, a couple of our awards and kind of good news stories. There's a lot happening. The apprenticeship is gaining a lot of traction, which is great. As you can see there, we've had a couple of apprentices on the programme win at the Generation Apprenticeship Employer of the Year Awards. For example, there, Hazel Johnson was actually the very first female National Apprentice of the Year winner. So we're very proud of that. And we've had some of our employers win at the awards as well, which is great to see. This just gives you a good kind of snapshot of a lot of the companies that we have involved to date. Obviously, we're very proud to be working and collaborating with a lot of these names, and we are seeing new employers come on board the program each intake, which is fantastic. And obviously, launched the program in DKIT now, so it's kind of opened us up to another region, and we're hoping to be collaborating with a lot more employers in that region. So we do have a LinkedIn page if you'd like to engage with us on that. We'd post kind of relevant updates on any events we might be having. So please do follow us on that if you're not already. And with that, I'll hand over to Paul McCartan for the academic overview. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks very much, Jen. Okay, so morning, everyone. I'm the head of department here of electronic and mechanical engineering, and I'm just going to go through a little bit of the academic content of what the program has. It is different to our other programs. It's been designed by industry and in collaboration with ATU, and it really does do something slightly different to our normal mechanical electronic engineering programs. So the main structure of the program in first year then, so we have the 4 years here of the module titles of what is covered in the program. And really, as Breda has mentioned before, returning learners who may have been in industry for some time, we bring everyone back to first principles and bring everyone along together in the core competencies of maths, engineering, science, which is kind of physics, CAD, electrical science, and then quality is a big aspect of this program all the way through. So there is central themes running through it. So year one really will complete the maths, engineering, science, and CAD, and everyone then goes back to the industry workplace to work on their industry module with supervision from our academic mentors and your industry mentors as well. So these projects, and you'll hear from our current students a bit later on as to what those projects might involve and how they progress. As we move into year two, then we start to go up the technology tree a little bit. We'll continue the engineering mathematics components in it, and we bring in manufacturing process planning, a little bit of robotics and control and automation. Metrology is an overt area which is picked out, which requires specific equipment, which we're getting as part of our grant from the HEA. We have lean manufacturing and automation then, and this is really where the apprentices start to understand how the systems fit together and how processes can be improved. Year three then, more advanced, so our year two then is our higher certificate program is complete, and students can exit at that point, which an awful lot of the other modules have done and the other partners have done across the other 4 institutions. But if you choose then to go on to the level 7 program, the year 3, module in that specifically, we have project management, software systems in engineering, and Six Sigma following on from the lean process previously. So the graduates at this stage are level 7 associate engineer level graduates, and that's accredited by Engineers Ireland to an international level, internationally recognized, which is great. The year 4 then, which is the honours degree level, really begins the advanced automation, the validation, verification component. Big data is something that's coming for everybody now, really. So data visualization and processing is a part of that. Smart manufacturing and system integration. So that year 4 is only running now in ATU Galway, I think to start last year. And we would aim to have that program in operation by that stage. So the 2-year higher certificate is the entry point, and it really covers the main fundamental aspects, and we call it the fundamental learning outcomes, really, at level 6. And then as we go on from the higher certificate, and people can leave at this stage if they wish, and that type of person then is the process type of technician, and apprentices learn how to support the operations that you have, contribute to continuous improvement, and apply tools such as 5S, Kanban, and SMED and process layout optimization. So the CAD and that overall understanding of your process feeds in at this stage. So if we go on to then the 3rd year, then the Six Sigma comes in. Excuse me. Six Sigma and Lean are built into the program day 1, which is great. Carrying out root cause analysis and reject reduction initiatives. And this is where the 3rd year engineer, the level 7 engineer, begins to directly influence quality, efficiency, and your yields in your manufacturing process. And the main thing, of course, is it can be manufacturing anything. It doesn't have to be mechanical engineering. Anything that goes out the door, manufactured and has metrics around it in terms of measurement, that's what we're looking for assisting. So the 4th year then is the full honours degree program, and is a route for someone who's not been in education to return to education and get a full year, 4-year honours degree through this process. So really this final year is the real honours year, quite digital, automation, data collection, and by the end of year 4, they're capable of leading engineering projects, integrating systems and supporting advanced manufacturing strategies. So this is the engineering, the content, the academic content that is then delivered in 2 aspects. So we have 2 parts. We go to the next slide there, maybe. The academic block really is the part where the student spends with us. Block release, kind of like an apprenticeship, a craft apprenticeship, in with us intensely for 15 weeks in total. That includes exams, 13 weeks teaching and 2 weeks for exams. So that's the commitment that the industry partner puts into the program. And then the academic block, some modules continue into the industry block. So as we see there, lean manufacturing, design of fixtures, maintenance and safety. These are actually applying the theory that you've learned in the first semester, and then you're going back and getting assessed on the implementation of that in the industry block. So there is a crossover between the academic and the industry. Some of it is purely taught and assessed in the academic. Some of it crosses over into the industry, and that is where we really see the learnings for the person in action learning, action research as it might be called, doing something, thinking about it, doing it, implementing it, and then feeding back on it. And ultimately that really is where we have lecture support from ourselves into second year, first year, second year, third year. They're all of these aspects are continuously covered in the industry block and academic block. So the industry mentor then is fundamental. And that is one of the biggest things that we have a relationship between the academic and the industry mentor as well. And they then support the student in progressing along their path. So with that, I'll hand back to Trish and we go through the next aspects.
Thanks very much, Paul, for that. We're now going to hear from our industry voices, and these are the people that engage in the programme live and will be able to give us their real live examples. We have Greg Redden from J&J, who represents the employer voice, and Greg is also the chairperson of our Manufacturing Engineering Consortium steering group. We have Andrew O'Rourke from HIAB, and you might have formerly known HIAB as Cargo Tech. And Andrew also represents the employer, and Andrew has also experience of being a mentor on the programme, so he'll speak to that. And we also have James McCann from HIAB, and James is currently an apprentice, and he's going to give us his first-hand account of his experiences to date. So we'll start with you, Greg, and maybe just to tell us a little bit about yourself and your involvement in the apprenticeship.
Sure. Thanks, Trish. Hi, all. So my name is Greg Redden. I'm a Senior Operations Manager with Johnson & Johnson Vision Care in Limerick. I'm also responsible for technical training on the site and everything to do with apprenticeship and traineeships and further ed. And in addition to all that day job, I'm also chair of the consortium steering group for the Manufacturing Engineering Apprenticeship, as Trish mentioned. Firstly, I suppose what I'd like to do is just give a bit of a background to the Manufacturing Engineering Apprenticeship and explain why it's become such an important part of how we develop talent in our industry. The reason I got involved in this is very simple. It was around 2015, 2016, we recognised that we had a serious shortage of technical and engineering skills out there in the marketplace. We were even travelling to Europe and beyond Europe to seek that technical talent. And this was already impacting us, as you can imagine, and we knew that it would impact any potential growth at the time. So we need to do a little bit of thinking outside the box in terms of other potential markets for that talent. So I contacted Ibec at the time, and Ibec, he actually asked me to join the consortium. We were having meetings up in Athlone at the time. So I went up to a meeting in Athlone, and I felt really positive about it. What was different really was that instead of everyone individually trying to solve a common problem, we had lots of people from industry and educators all sitting around the same table. So what this meant was that the apprenticeship was going to align with the needs of industry, and the curriculum is shaped by the people who actually understand manufacturing, which for me at the time was a very different approach, right? And I was very optimistic about it. The apprenticeship, and Trish, you frightened me yesterday when you said it's 10 years on the go. I had 6 or 7 years, but the apprenticeship has actually been running for 10 years now.
Yep,
and it's
10
delivered
years, Greg.
10 years, and it's delivered consistent results across multiple companies, and I know it has. It's also matured a lot, and it's a proven model. we've, I think it was last year, we developed a level 8 in addition, right, which is a good step forward. This is really important for us here in J&J because we also needed a pipeline for engineering, not just for technicians. So overall, we and other employers have confidence that the structure works, that the training is relevant, that the apprentices come out with the skills needed to contribute from an early stage. And here in Johnson & Johnson, this has actually become the foundation for our technical training pipeline. It gives us a steady flow of people who quickly learn to understand our systems, and not only the systems, but actually the culture within the organisation, and especially this early in career talent that coming into us and understanding that culture is really, really good. Another big advantage, we see huge diversity within the groups of apprentices, which is really important. I know in the classroom that's really helpful to help each other. The apprentices spend most of the year on site, so they become part of the family very quickly. And I know that when they come back from the college, we can see that they've learned a lot of new skills that they use in the job. And I know that what they learn on the job then they bring back into the classroom. And again, I know they share it with other industry apprentices within the classroom, and they all learn from each other, which is really important. It's become a core part of how we build capability and how we plan for the future here in J&J. And we actually plan out 3 to 5 years on our apprenticeship hiring as part of that. So for me, I couldn't recommend the apprenticeship enough. If you're looking for strong technical talent that will fit your organisation and help you build a talent pipeline, then the manufacturing engineering apprenticeship for me is worth serious consideration.
And you're being very modest, Greg. You didn't even mention, what about some of your apprentices who've won some of the awards?
Yeah, we've actually had, we've won some awards ourselves overall for the apprenticeship, but in recent years we've won Apprentice of the Year. Keane Healy has won the Deliverer Apprenticeship, Apprentice of the Year, and we also had Jodie White. Jodie was our first apprentice that went on from level 6 to level 7 and into level 8, and now actually works as a senior process engineer here in the organisation. But Jodie won Apprentice of the Year as well, so yeah, we're really proud of that.
It's great news story. Thanks so much, Greg, for that. And now we might move over to Andrew to tell his story, introduce himself and tell his story so far. Thank you.
Hey Trish, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. I suppose my name is Andrew O'Rourke. My background, formally, I'm actually a former electronic product design engineering graduate out of DKIT. And I'm just going to hold it at that point for 1 second. I suppose one of the things that stood, I suppose, to my career progression over the years was the practicality of the courses within DKIT as regards theory and practical, especially when I was doing the electronics degree up there for product design development. After that, after I left Dundalk, I actually ended up and I spent 24 years with Intel as a global staff engineer for them, doing multiple startups, both in Israel and working in the design center in Portland, Oregon, and on site in Leixlip. And I suppose after 24 years of experience, and part of that is I'm 17 years of black belt as well from the Six Sigma world within Intel and globally within the company at the time. Part of that, I suppose, my own personal situation changed with family and everything else, so I decided to move closer to home. I'm very close to the region, and I was lucky enough to get a job with Cargotec. So I joined Cargotec about 1.5 years ago. And I suppose where I seen the apprentice program coming up, I actually seen it coming up on LinkedIn, and I just went, this is just a fabulous opportunity. And I looked at it in multiple different ways. One is, especially when you have probably what I would class as a small employee base, like going from a site where you could have anywhere between 6,000 to 7,000 people on site, similar to probably Johnson & Johnson, to where you have a site where you have 300 direct employees on site. I suppose, how do you provide that, how do you provide that flow path as regards talent progression and looking for those diamonds in the rough? It may be a bad statement, but it's one of those things where you have to look for that talent internally. And I suppose we didn't have the option to go externally. So I took the proposal actually, and I met Trish and the guys at the time. They were so supportive of it through the whole process. And actually, I tried to get 4 people on the apprenticeship program this time around. I got 3. I got approval for 3 to go through. And what we do plan to do is potentially send another one out this year as well. Because if anybody looks out there from a talent out there in the industry at the minute, you know, manufacturing skills, you know, everybody, yes, absolutely, there's an AI boom, but the core fundamentals of assembly, identifying defects in process, identifying defects in design, you know, a lot of that has to be done by talented, trained individuals. So we got our 3 apprentices started up at the start of September last year, and I didn't see just we didn't have the option to go externally, so we actually recruited internally. So one of the positive things about that is we're given our own the option to actually progress, you know, and I think that's a massive positive. The second piece of it was that as part of the mentorship program, and we'll probably talk about it in a wee bit, is that the mentors, it actually allowed me to develop more senior people in the group that may not have mentorship skills, that may have, you know, been used to doing everything themselves, and that's what's got them to their part of their organization, be it a senior engineer or a senior systems engineer. So it showed from my point of view is that I can actually develop on both sides. I can develop an academic talent that will add value to the company in the long term, but also it allows me to develop my more senior people from a coaching skills, from a development skills point of view. And it's been ultimately so positive. I can see a daily change in our 3 apprentices as regards to methods and how they approach problems, how they deal with issues, and even, you know, interactions, one-on-one interactions. And and you can see their conversation going from, you know, very random conversations about a problem to actually very specific conversations and using metrics and using data, which only drives value in any organization. So, and I suppose my role in here at the minute within the company, I suppose I've about 4 different roles, depending on which day you actually talk to me. But I look after the whole manufacturing engineering team. I look after the site maintenance team, the site and facilities maintenance team, and I do all the continuous improvement on site as well. So Trish, that's pretty much my speak from my point of view.
Thanks very much, Andrew. That's very interesting to hear from you. And finally, last but not least, we might hear from James, our apprentice. Hi, James.
Hi, everyone. My name is James McCann, and I'm an apprentice with HIAB. I'm still early into my journey as it's my first year, but I've already learned a huge amount both on the job and in college. The mix of the on-site work and learning alongside my college work has given me the real confidence in my skills. So I was an assembly operator with HIAB for 4 years, and when the opportunity came up, I wanted to gain more technical knowledge. I wanted to know more about the business and the processes. So when the opportunity came up for the apprenticeship, I put my name forward. After a couple of rounds of interviews, got accepted, and then from day one, I've been working alongside the ME team, and then the balance between like on-the-job learning and off-the-job learning has worked really well. So when I'm on site, I can apply what I learned in college straight away, and then when I'm in college, I can connect the theory back to the work I've been doing, so everything kind of blends together. So I've already had the chance to work on multiple projects. I can see the results of what I've been doing. So a project I've been working on recently is we got an order in for a new product. So this is where I went and photographed and wrote down notes of the new build to document the process, and then I created an assembly instruction for this operating procedure to help standardize the process for the next build to help out the operators. And then also, I'm currently in the industry module now, so that runs as when I'm in work. So it is right now I'm doing balancing my workflow with a process report and technical project that I'm doing for the college. So looking at stuff like your cycle times, your rolling throughput yields, quality checks. And then with this, then the mentoring is an important part of the program. I work really closely with my mentor. We have weekly meetings and weekly checks. The support he has given me has helped me grow in my confidence and take on more responsibility in the workplace. And then also with this, you have weekly logbooks to complete, so which you'll be sending back to your college and your mentor. And this really will help you like reflect each week on the work you've completed and how you would approach the task differently next time. And then also I'm in weekly contact with all the professors in DKIT, so they're always there to help me, point me in the right direction if I need that. And then in college, there is regular presentations as well as when I'm in the workforce here. We have cross-departmental meetings. So I'm often called on to speak or present something we're working on. And this has really helped me with confidence and my skills during the year. Even a year ago, doing this right now would have been really frightening for me. So it's definitely come on a long way. And if anyone is thinking about this apprenticeship, I would really would recommend it. It's great. It is great to build your skills and you have a solid career path as well then.
That's great. That's great, James, to hear about that hands-on from your projects. Like definitely the projects in this program, they're not an academic piece. You go back to your company, you find an issue or a problem, and then you come up with a project that's going to help the bottom line to fix an issue, and it really is helping the bottom line for companies. So thanks very much. For now we know who the panel is. It's great to have met them and got a little bit of background about them. And we're going to look a little bit now around talking about challenges, solutions, scheduling, and when apprentices begin to start to add value. So we'll just maybe look first about the onboarding experience. And I'm going to go to you, Greg, first to say, how do you find that onboarding of the apprentices? Is it onerous? And you can be totally honest about this.
Yeah, no, you're fine. It's not at all, Trish. I think from the very early stages, I think that process is designed really well. And being honest with you, once you kind of navigate through it once, it's very straightforward after that. But in fairness to yourself and Jen and Yvonne and Sarah are always there anytime we do need help with that. So no, you never really feel on your own trying to do it. There's always lots of support, but it's genuinely it's not a major task.
And I know you've been through the process now for many years, like 10 years, but we'll say we moved to Andrew then and James. So Andrew, from your side, you're relatively new into the process at this point, having been through it. How did you find the onboarding process?
To be honest with you, it's like any process. The first time anybody does it, it's very simple. It could be daunting, but you know what? Only for the support network that was there from both DKIT and Ibec. You know, they lead you and guide you through every step of the process. They're very, to me, clinical about this is what you need, this is what you don't need, and that's really helpful to make the process and the onboarding easy. When you're that clinical about something in a process and you make it easy for somebody else, you onboard them so much quicker.
Are you saying we were strict, Andrew?
I'm not in academia, so I can't say that word strict.
No, but we do. I mean, that's the whole piece around Ibec is the consortia lead, but our job is to make it as easy for companies as possible. And if there's anything missing or whatever, we're there and on point to try to get the paperwork over the line, because it's a paperwork based process for getting the registrations done, but definitely we're there to help, and that's good to hear that and we have it from an experienced company who's in it a long time and a company who's relatively new to it. So, and James, from yourself, from an apprentice point of view, having come on to the apprenticeship for the first time, how did you find it coming into this process?
I found it extremely smooth, really. I knew what was happening straight away, and when I did need any updates, there was regular communication from everyone to help me out.
Okay, very good. Thanks so much. We might move on then to what's always in employers' heads about challenges. So, Andrew, was there any challenges? I'll start with you here for this one. Was there any challenges that you had to overcome within the company?
Yeah, I suppose, look, there's a couple of challenges from the starting point. One is, do you go internally or externally? Do you take somebody in from the outside and not give your own the opportunity? That's an internal matter that you discuss within any given company, right? I suppose we looked at it from an opportunistic point of view of how do we develop our own talent? how do we find people that have talent within our organization and give them the space to grow and improve? Because ultimately, it may be only what I call it is it's a short-term pain of 2 years where you're in that balance between I don't have somebody here for 3 months, but then they're adding value. It needs to go beyond that. You need to look at the next 5 year, like anybody that is a true, progression plan. And, you have to look at succession plans within any organization is, how do I plan for the next 5 or 10 years? How do I make sure that I retain the talent I have, but also how do I develop it? I think that has been one of the big things. When we looked in-house, we actually found there was actually more than just the 3 guys. It was actually very hard to disseminate between the 3 guys in-house. And, we will be looking that, in 2 years' time, and we're seeing it automatically is they are adding direct value to the business. They are solving problems on a daily basis now. And what's great is and I go back to what I originally said about Dundalk, the tie-in between of DKIT, when I originally went, when it was an RTC, the tie-in between practical and actually theory, but now you're getting the tie-in between value add in the business and actually the academic approach, which is, it's so powerful. You have to see it and you have to operate it,
Thanks so much for that. That's great, Andrew, to hear. And I mean, it's honest feedback as well. And Greg, from your end, would you say you have any challenges?
Look, Trish, our challenge still remains the same, filling technical roles from the market. I know we have a number of apprenticeship positions, and each year we actually fill all the apprenticeship positions. We more struggle to fill qualified technician positions from the market. So we have 20 level 6 apprenticeships are going to qualify in the next couple of months. And the plan is to have 24 new staff that will be a supply for us for 2 years' time, right? So if we didn't have them, we'd actually probably struggle today to cover both attrition and to add headcount for new lines to the fleet. So there is a challenge getting technical roles from the market, but this is a really good solve for us, and we hope that uptake continues.
Great. Thank you. And we might move then a little bit to talking around scheduling around learning cycles. And James, I'm going to ask you that you're 9 months in and you have the 3 months off rhythm as well. How does that actually work for you? How do you find it works for you?
Yeah, honestly, it does work very well. When I'm on site, I'm applying what I learned in the college straight away. And then when I'm at college, when I go back to college, I know I'll be connecting what I've done in here to the stuff we'll be learning next year. And I know also you have your weekly check-ins and your logbooks with your mentors and your professor each week, so you're keeping on track constantly.
And Andrew, would you have anything to add about the scheduling?
The scheduling piece, look, it's great for me as a manager, because at the end of the day, as I can turn around and I'm actually scheduling our own guys, and I'm very clinical about it, I suppose. The mentors being fit to schedule their time, and that's their sort of continuous professional development within the organization to coach and help and support, so the scheduling on and off, while the biggest challenge for me first time out was how do we potentially fill that gap of 3 months, and that's when you do it first, you go, okay, what do I need to do? How can I do it? And you just build a plan, and then that gives you a model and a roadmap that you can only just improve in as the next 3 months come up. And probably Greg would probably the first time you guys done it, it was daunting that you were, you had a gap for 3 months, but you figured out how to fill that gap, and now you've improved it.
Yeah, 100%.
Very good. And I might just touch a little bit as well on when the apprentices are starting to add value. And I think you've touched on it already in your previous comments. But Greg, when do you think you see the apprentices really starting to add an impact within the company?
Yeah, look, Trish, they're here most of the year, and the great thing is they actually start before they go to college. They're here for about 6 weeks to 2 months. So they're already getting to meet the teams outside and learning before they ever go to college. But one of the big things we've seen over the years is are actually more mature workforce. We have technicians in the business here for 20 years, and they've really embraced the apprenticeship program. So they nearly take them under the wing from the very early stages, and they're teaching them. So we start to see the benefits quite quickly. And also, I know we talk about just the scheduling around, like when they're in college and that. The great thing is that the college blocks are outside with the summer period, and we have to have summer cover. So the apprentices come back from their college block and they're actually slotting in and covering the technicians on the line. So they're learning really quick. So I think from the early stages, Trish, and I know Andrew mentioned about the problem solving, like the course is actually designed with a strong problem solving skills learning for them, so they're actually solving problems in the very early stages.
Yeah. Thanks very much, and I know we're up against time here, so I'm going to move along. How would you think then, if we were looking at apprenticeships to help with future-proof and capability? Greg, I might start with you this time, as in, how do you see it helping the company?
Look, it's simple enough, I think, Trish. You hire people who will understand the systems and the standards, right, and that will fit into the culture of the organisation, and then they grow with you. Like, and I'd say somewhere between about 15 and 20% of apprentices that started with us over the last 10 years have actually moved into other roles. They've got promotions, and it's that continuous pipeline all the way through.
Great. And Andrew, would you have any comments on that?
Yeah, pretty much the same as what Greg has said. Look, it's about succession planning, right? Because, and then on top of that, it's the attrition piece, right? Everybody and anybody has their own mantra that if they want to go and look for potentially a job somewhere else, but to have this pipeline in the background that we're continuously developing skills and talent that we can allow the more senior individuals, that probably we could actually move them into higher roles and actually push them into higher roles that add more value and impact to the business.
Okay, and if I was to say a final word from each of you to give some advice to employers or mentors or apprentices, Greg, I'll start with you. What would you say to advise?
I'd say for the employers, and sorry to be repeating myself over and over, but if you want people who can grow within your organisation, this is definitely a way to do it. For the mentors, right, you're going to develop your own skills, right, and it's a different skill set you learn as a mentor, and build confidence as much as the apprentice. And then for the apprentices, all I would say is if I had the opportunity in front of me, I'd be grabbing it, right. It's a really great opportunity, and it's not just it's an actual career. It's not just a course or a level 6. It's an actual career you're embarking on.
Thanks, Greg. And Andrew, last word of advice?
For all the companies that's on here, I would jump at the opportunity. This is an opportunity for the long term. It may be short-term pain from a point of view of, yes, you may, like in our organisation, the guys are still maintaining the regular salaries and everything else and pay and X, Y, and Z. But you know what? I can see automatically now the value that they are adding within the space of 2 months. It's an opportunity not to be missed.
Great, thanks, Andrew. And James, the last word from an apprentice's point of view.
For apprentices, just go for it. Be confident, put yourself out there. They're there, you learn the job, you learn in college, you will build your confidence, and you have a career path there then.
That's great. And we hear as well, like, about the mentors, and if a mentor is willing to mentor an apprentice, it's definitely a developmental role for them. And we often hear from mentors in companies, when we have a next batch coming in, that they want to mentor again. They don't want to drop and leave it. They want to actually keep doing it. It's very rewarding, I think, to work with an apprentice and to see their career grow. And inevitably, when you get into this, there's a whole step path from level 6. And I'm sure, James, in the future, you'll be knocking on the door to want to do level 7 or level 8, hopefully all going well. But it definitely, there's a fantastic career path there. And look, there were brilliant insights from all of you. So thanks very much for explaining how the program works within the companies, because you can't beat that hands-on company experience. I could talk about it all day, but year lived experiences really, I think, describe it and help you to understand it so much better. So I'll just say we can open now for if there's any questions and answers. Do we have any questions for any of the panel?
Yeah, so in the Q&A, we don't have anything just yet, so I would invite participants to switch on their mic and go ahead and ask your questions.
Hi,
Thanks,
my name's James. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can, James.
Yeah, I'm from Gyprock here in San Gaban. We're looking to take on 2 apprentices. We didn't get approval last year, but we're hoping to get approval this year. So I have a few questions. On the years that are there from 1 to 4, do the mechanical and electrical guys go through the same course? Or do you differentiate between mechanical and electrical, or is it just a manufacturing course?
Just manufacturing. There's no differentiation. There's a bit of both in the program, but there's no. It's a merge of the two with quality, I suppose, added in and metrology and lean. But there's no differentiation. No, there's only one course.
One course. And the end of year 3, what qualification do you have?
Beng, Bachelor of Engineering in in Manufacturing Engineering brackets apprenticeship.
And I'm assuming then the year 4 is MEng.
Nope, year 4 would be Beng Honours.
Beng Honours.
Yeah, in Advanced Manufacturing Engineering brackets apprenticeship.
And then just on the practicalities of pay rates, does DKIT recommend them or Ibec recommend them, or is it up to the companies?
Up to the companies, I think. Unless Trish, you want to go?
I can take that, Paul. For the craft apprenticeships, there is a training allowance from government. But for the new consortia-led apprenticeships, the employer pays that salary for both on and off the job. But that is totally at the company's discretion as to how much of a salary they would pay. And there's reasons for that as well, because some companies take on internal employees who may be with them for a long time. So there's scope there for like what the salary might be. But we did a benchmark a few years ago, and coming in at the point of start of entry, it was 22,000, moving up to 26,000, 26,500. But nowadays with the living wage, I would say that the entry point is probably more around 26,000 as a baseline if it was somebody you were hiring in, maybe a school leaver or whatever. But like the scope there, it's not dictated to. So I hope that helps a little bit.
Yeah, I might touch base. I said here, if you even could email me what the pay scales would be, just because I'm pitching this next week to a HR director, so to try and get approval.
Sure.
And the one thing is they're going to be asking me is what the pay rates are expected. I've just one last question. Then, obviously, the company then hires them, not DKIT. Yes, so we hire them, and it's open to the people that I suppose presented. If I had somebody, and I don't even experience this, that's in the company working already, has a trade, and obviously on very good wages, and they want to do this course, did anyone have any experience that they wouldn't take a drop in salary to start on year 1 at 26k, or did they continue with their salary that they were already on in the company?
I think that's
that question.
I think we might take that offline, because that's very individual.
Okay. And the other thing, the last question, could I get a copy of this presentation so we could use some of it in my pitch next week?
No problem. We can send that on to you later on, and we can give it more detailed one as well. We had a very high level today with very short slides, but we have more detailed slides if you need to know the learning outcomes and all that. We can absolutely send that on later on.
Excellent.
Thank you for the questions.
Cheers.
Anybody else have a question? Down to 5.
Hi, Brian Russell. Just real quick,
Brian.
With the 15 weeks off the job at going back to school, how does that impact on smaller companies? So when you're a 3, 4, 5 person shop, I came from an apprentice background myself, but at Short Brothers in Belfast, so I did 1 day a week for the whole way up through the HND program, and I'm working on a study at the minute for SMEs, and one of the feedbacks is developing that exactly what we've talked about, a talent pipeline that talent pipeline is pretty tough when you're very small and can't maintain. You know, you're talking about a fifth of your workforce disappears for 3 months. Any thoughts on that?
Brian, we do see that with SMEs. It is very difficult for them to engage, and like Ibec on behalf of employers is lobbying the government for the off-the-job costs. When this program started off, there was no off-the-job grant at all for the apprenticeships, and I think then, I don't know, was it 2019, 2020, €2,000 per year per apprentice came in. But Ibec were lobbying and continue to lobby with government about the off-the-job costs, saying that it should be in the minimum of about 7,000 per apprentice per year, to balance out between what's offered from the craft apprenticeships for the training allowance, as opposed to these new consortia-led apprenticeships where the company has to pay the salary for both on and off the job. And there are some government grants there, but it's not enough. It's not enough. And government knows this, and we continue to lobby with them about it for the off-the-job costs. But for SMEs, there is a payback for it, Brian, but it is a long-term, like it's a 2-year process. But the apprentices, as you've heard today, are beginning to pay back with their projects very early on. There definitely is additional, you know, to the bottom line that they're helping with those costs. So it's to take the leap of faith to get into it, but it is a cost. But there is a huge payback for it. But it's to balance that with the backfill and all that. And there definitely needs to be more supports from government for the off-the-job costs, for SMEs in particular. But we do have, I would say, about 65% of the sign-ups that we have today, Brian, are SMEs.
Okay.
The remainder are multinationals. So we are seeing a lot of SMEs who do engage, and they see the benefits of it. But they might only put one person on for 2 years or 3 years. And after that person finishes, after that apprentice finishes, then they might put on another person. They can't afford to send 2 and 3, like it's just not viable for them.
Yep, yep. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? We're just coming in to the end of the session now, but I would just like to maybe just to finish off by saying, like, thanks to everybody, to all of our speakers and to all the presenters today. I think the message is very clear, like that the apprenticeships do add value, and they help with reducing recruitment, and they're building a dependable pipeline for future technicians and engineers. But your next steps then, if you're interested in finding out more about the apprenticeship, please do reach out to us and contact us, and we'd be happy to do a more in-depth briefing with you on all of the things that all of the content of the programs and that, and how we can help you to get it over the line. And just to say thanks so much to everybody for coming on and listening today, and for giving up your time to hear us talk about the apprenticeships. Thanks very much. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks very much.